Hey everybody, welcome to withjosh.com. I am Josh Skinner, live from Long Beach with my new friend Jess Platt. Jess, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it.
It's great that you came out here.
Yeah, Jess is one of Hollywood's busiest dialect coaches. And first I want to name a few people that you've worked with. Hugh Jackman, Daniel Craig, Sir Michael Caine, Anna Paquin. You've worked with everybody. And actually I was in New York and I saw Steady Rain with Hugh Jackman and Daniel Craig, and I read about you in the playbill, and I just had to meet you. And here we are in Long Beach. So I want to ask first, how did you get started in the industry?
Well, I was a speech pathologist for years and years, and I lived in LA, and I lived next door to a producer of Dynasty, and Emma Samms was just hired.
Emma Samms, the big British actress.
Yeah, she was actually, I think she was on General Hospital as herself, as somebody British, and they hired her to replace Pamela Sue Martin, who was American. And my neighbor said, "Do you think you could make her sound American?" And I said, "I know I can. I would love to. Let me try." And so they hired me for like 1 hour, and it worked. And they loved the results, and then they hired me for the season. And Emma started referring all of her English friends. And the next thing I knew, I was getting calls from agents, which was terrific.
Now let me ask you this. Did you have an actual practice before?
Yes.
Okay, so what happened to all your clients and everything that you were...
I had two things. I was an administrator in the school district in the severe delay of language program, and I had a private practice. And the private practice still exists. I gave it to a friend of mine, and she still has it.
Wow.
And
do you miss it at all?
I don't miss it at all.
Oh, okay, why not? Why not?
Because it was kind of boring.
Okay.
You know, it was kind of the same thing, just correcting speech disorders, and I prefer correcting speech disorders with people that want to be corrected, like actors.
So what's the difference between a dialect and an accent?
Okay, there are conflicting theories, but my difference and my definition is a dialect is a regional geographical variation of a language. For example, you would have a Chicago dialect of American English, or you would have a Manchester dialect of English. But if you spoke a foreign language, for example, if your first language was English and you learned German, you would have an English accent when you spoke German.
Wow.
And there are all kinds of reasons for it that are kind of complicated. It has to do with something called the phoneme, which you learn when you're very, very young. You learn to differentiate sounds of your particular language, and other sounds are not important, so you get rid of them.
So say someone is hiring you and they say, "We want you to teach a British actor how to speak American."
Okay.
What region is American to you for like a movie?
Generally, they want general American, which doesn't really exist because everybody has a dialect.
But like, you wouldn't consider Chicago or New York as the general?
No, I wouldn't. I would consider...
Or Southern?
I would consider anything west of the Midwest as to be general American.
Now, let's talk about Chicago for a second. You were just working on Broadway's hit musical, Steady Rain, with Hugh Jackman and Daniel Craig. How hard was it to teach them to speak like they were from Chicago? I mean, one is a British actor, one's from Australia.
Very hard. The specific sounds that I had to work on were a little bit... Well, you know, I've worked with Hugh for 14 or 15 movies, so he knows how to pronounce the R's in the middle of words, as in hard. Daniel, of course, being British, says hard.
Right.
And that was very hard
Right.
for Daniel to do. So we drilled, you know, before we even got into the script, I had exercise sheets for each one of the sounds of Chicago so that I didn't make the script into an exercise.
Right.
I know that he had a lot of trouble with final R's also, as in the word door. He would say door. And there's one line in the play where he has to say, he stormed out the door. And that still to this day, well, the show's not running anymore, but I remember every night I clenched every time he was about to say stormed out the door because I was afraid that he would say stormed out the door.
Did he get it?
Most of the time.
Okay.
But there were times that
How was the experience of working with both actors?
It was fantastic. It was one of the hardest things I think that any of the three of us has ever done, because we're used to movies. We're used to take two.
Right.
We're used to post. We're used to looping. You know, you say it wrong, you say against the car, which he had to say several times, once, and it's wrong. And you could be perfect for the entire show, and you say against the car, and everybody in the audience will hear it.
Well, I thought both of their performances were brilliant.
So did the critics,
Yeah.
which is great. Even for the last performance, I wasn't there for the last performance, but I was there mid-run for brush-ups, and I heard things, of course, every day, every performance, but they were good. And you know, they're such good actors that what they didn't do in dialect, they made up in acting. So
Wow.
the definition of good speech was good speech is speech that doesn't call attention to itself.
Wow.
So what
That's
I was
profound.
hoping for was that after the initial 3 sentences that each actor said, people would stop listening to the accents and that they would start listening to the play.
Well, you're also a composer.
Yes.
And how did you get started with being a composer? He had actually just had a hit off Broadway.
It was called Dog Music, and it was called Tales. I played the piano since I'm 4, like every good boy in Brooklyn.
Did
We
you
had a
play
piano.
every day?
Oh yeah, I still play.
Every day.
Yeah,
What's your favorite type of music to play?
jazz improvisation now, but I love theater music. I love stuff from the 60s and 70s, the show music from the 60s and 70s, and I play by ear, so I'm a hit at a party.
So, yeah, I bet. That's awesome. So what are you working on right now?
In relation to
music.
Well, my partner and I are working on a musical about the life of Leonardo da Vinci, which has been around. This musical has been around for years. In fact, before we even collaborated, he was collaborating with Billy Goldenberg, who is a famous Broadway composer. Hal Prince had the project.
Wow.
And then I got involved and I started composing for it. It won Best Musical in some contest in 2000, Broadway on Sunset, and we had a performance at LA Theater Center. And it's just very, very difficult to get a musical produced because it costs a fortune.
Now, are there any other actors that you'd like to work with that you haven't worked with yet?
Oh, that I haven't worked
Yeah.
with. You know, I don't even think about that. I've never thought about that.
Is it just a job?
Yes, it is a job.
Right.
And if I meet an actor and we happen to work together and I like working with that actor, then I'll want to work with that actor.
Now, if people wanted more information about you, where should they go?
Well, any information they could probably Google me and find a lot of stuff that I don't even
IMDb?
know about. IMDb.com has all of the films and television that I've worked on.
Now, what kind of accent do I have? Or dialect?
You have just a standard, I would say general American, West Coast, nothing that stands out.
Nothing that stands out. Okay, well, and what accent do you think I should try?
I think you should be British.
Oh, teach me something to say in British really quick.
Oh, it's really hot.
It's really hot.
Perfect.
Really?
There you
Well,
go.
call up Hugh and let's do a movie.
There
Okay,
you go.
well, thank you so much, Jess
Thank
Platt.
you.
Thanks for watching with Josh.com, and I really appreciate you taking the time to see me.
Pleasure.